Well, here at Cannes Lions and indeed across the marketing and advertising industry over the last few years, we've been talking about purpose, particularly brand purpose. But how important is it getting? Well, a little bit of research from We Worldwide gives us a bit more of a clue, and Angela Zorkin knows all about it. You're the founder and CEO. What have you learned from this bit of research?
I think first we have to understand that purpose has been talked about for a long time, but actually it has to drive people to action in order for it to truly be successful. And so our research proves a hypothesis that we have that actually it's as important as financial performance, which is really a new finding.
When we talk about brand purpose, it seemed to be where we moved on in terms of advertising from simply just talking about features, advantages and benefits of a product and service and communicating that in an advert. Where do you think purpose has now come and where do you think it's going?
I think purpose is actually a long-term commitment of a company to say we will change something that's wrong in the world and we will pivot our innovation to do just that. And so I think you see all kinds of examples in retail, in clothing, and the way clothes are made, and certainly in some of the big grand prize winners here.
But that's sort of quite grandiose compared to a reason for a product or service to exist. Its prime purpose, for example.
Well, I think that there is functionality for sure, and you do have to meet a need always. Functionality is key. But at the same time, if you look at consumers today, they are demanding that the brands that they associate with believe with the same values that they believe in. And so actually the things are becoming more and more closely related.
Is that a millennial Gen Z type thing, or is it running deeper than that now?
I think everybody does attribute that whole, okay, we want to buy for social good to millennials, but it's not just millennials, it's everybody. You, me, we all care about where does that come from? How did you make that? Why did you make that? So it's actually a lot more broad.
In a competitive environment, when this movement sort of started, the whole idea of purpose was how you differentiated your brand away from another one. So Heinz mayonnaise over Hellmann's mayonnaise. If everybody is doing that, you've lost the thing that made you stand out. Or is it to do with what you back as your sort of social responsibility?
Well, I think first you do have to meet the basics, and so there will be some need for differentiation beyond that, because if everybody gets to that perfect organic state, yes, what is the difference? But I think it's sustainable. I think it's absolutely what do you do around that as an organization? How do you treat your people? How do you treat the communities in which you live? How do you give back to those places you work and live? So I think those all add up to being a very big differentiator for a lot of the brands that, yes, you're right, might on the surface look the same.
You work within the communication space, so what are you telling your clients? What do they need to be thinking about?
Well, I think that absolutely we start with, all right, let's slow down. Let's start at the start. What do you firmly believe in? Why are you doing it? Not just what you're building, the functionality, but tell me why you're doing what you're doing. What do you wish to change? What's most important to you? What do you stand for? And once you've done that and start at the start, as we like to say, then we take it on to much more broad. Is it a campaign? Is it something that's direct to consumer in a completely different way? But you always start with that. Fundamentally, what do you believe in? What do you stand for?
We kind of talk about walking the walk and talking the talk. What's your purpose and how do you reflect that in terms of attracting clients?
I think it starts for us. We are We Communications, and so we began a while back with a woman-founded approach, and that right there is very different in a world where many of the agencies are not led by women. And so diversity and inclusion matter a lot to us. My team is 50-50 in terms of gender parity, and same thing with my larger team. So that's, for us as an agency, the place we started. But the second is I think you have to look at the employee experience, and you have to say, do they get to go abroad in the world? Do they get to think about what's different here? How does communication show up in Africa? Say we have programs there, or in Southeast Asia, and do our work, communications work, in completely different places where their comfort zone is really tested.
So give me an idea of the sort of statistics that have been produced out of this report.
Well, first and foremost, the thing we learned, it was our hypothesis, is that it's no longer nice to have to be a purpose-driven company. It's a financial imperative, and that 77% of our respondents believe that purposeful leadership is equally as important as financial performance. And second of all, and I think this is really interesting, 94% of them believe that technology is something that can help brands really achieve sustainability. So tools to help them really show up well in the world. And then finally, I think interestingly, 3/4 of the people, actually 2/3 of our people really, believe that as leaders, we have an imperative, a moral imperative and a responsibility to address social problems.
you very much.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
Hi, I'm James Wright and thanks for watching Marketing Media Money. You can check out more of our videos by clicking on the boxes on the screen, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more from CNBC International. Thanks for watching.